Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Academy. Today, I would like to talk about natural law, and I would also like to make a moral case. So let's jump right into it. So we start with the concept of truth. Right, I want to set a bit of groundwork here, and I'm going to attempt to give a definition for truth and why I believe in natural law. So I heard long ago a concept, I believe it was from Robert Anton Wilson, that your beliefs shouldn't be things that are on or off. Right? We say, I believe this, I don't believe that. But it would be more prudent, it would be more wise for us to admit that our beliefs are a matter of degree. So it's not that we believe something or we don't, it's that with each belief, we have like a percentage, and we say, oh, I believe that 90%, or I believe this 10%. And that nothing should be 100%, and nothing should be 0%. So over the years, I've thought about this, and I've thought to myself, is there anything that I actually believe 100%? And I believe there is something that I believe 100%. And that something is this, that something is happening. Okay, so that's the thing that I believe 100%. I might be completely wrong about what is happening, right? So what I believe to be happening might bear no resemblance to what is actually happening, but still something is happening, right? So this whole thing might be an illusion. This whole life thing might be a simulation, or as Robert Anton Wilson says, I might be an iguana and I'm just dreaming all of this. In which case I'm completely wrong about what I think is happening, but nevertheless, something is happening. That also means that there's something I believe 0%. So if somebody came along to me and tried to convince me that nothing is happening, I know they're wrong. Yeah, I know that's not true. So why am I saying this? Well, coming back to the concept of truth, I would say, therefore, the thing that is happening that I might be wrong about, or I might be right about, to varying degrees, that thing that's happening is the truth, right? So the truth is objective, right? It is the thing that actually happened. And the past is the truth. Okay, so we can't change the past, right? You can't change what you had for breakfast yesterday. It has happened, right? And you have your understanding of what happened, you have your recollection of what happened, you have your memories, and those things may closely resemble what happened, or they might deviate quite wildly from what happened. Right? So you have your perception of the truth, and then you have the truth, right? Okay, so this brings me on to the concept of natural law. Okay, so natural law in concept states that people have natural rights, and these rights are not given to them by other people, but instead exist naturally. So this would imply that there is something objective, at least in some part, about natural rights, about morality, let's say. Okay, so if people have these natural rights, that would imply that everyone in the world could believe that something is right, and they could all be wrong. Okay, so the furthest back I can trace this natural law concept is to Aristotle, in this book here, the Nicomachean Ethics. I'm not sure how to say that word. Okay, so natural law differs from the concept of jurisdiction. So here's the etymology of the word jurisdiction. It's a portmanteau. It's two words put together to make a new word. And we have the word juris, which is Latin for law. So this is where we get the word jury from. This is where we get words like jurisprudence from. And then we have diction, right? It would actually be dictio in Latin, but diction meaning speech. And we still use that word now. So we put these words together and it means literally to say the law. Okay, so jurisdiction is people writing down and saying what they think is right. All right. So this differs from natural law. I'm just going to go back again. In that natural law would resemble the truth of what is really right and wrong, and jurisdiction would resemble our perception of what we believe to be right and wrong. Okay. Earlier on, I've spoken about the liberal arts and how they give us clues into reality. And I believe in the same way with moral reality, we can also get clues as to what's right and what's wrong. I don't know if I'm putting that in the best way. We can't know exactly the truth, right? We will never know 100% what is true, but we can know low resolution overviews of the truth. We can know specific components of the truth through a kind of moral reasoning. Okay, so I'm going to move on to this gentleman, Thomas Aquinas. So this guy was dubbed a saint by the Christians, Saint Thomas Aquinas. And he interpreted Aristotle's statement of natural law to say that natural law was in effect God's law, all right, and that it is God and not man who defines laws. And this is effectively the same statement, right? Aristotle's version didn't involve the creator being a person, but nevertheless did involve moral laws being true in a sense of objectivity. So Aquinas, he also posits that jurisdiction can correlate with natural laws to varying degrees. So one nation's jurisdiction might very closely resemble the truth about moral reality, about natural law, and that would be a more just society. And that another society might have a jurisdiction that just completely radically, veers completely off the path of natural law, right? It bears very little resemblance to natural law, and that this would be a less just nation or society. Okay, so those that correlate with natural law are, we could say, are more in harmony with nature, with the laws of the moral laws of nature, and that those that do not correlate are more dissonant. And this means also that if you break these natural laws, there will be consequences, right? And that if you don't break the natural laws, then there won't be. And this isn't just Aquinas that had these views. The Eastern concept of karma also bears something similar to this within it. Now, karma really just means activity. It's just stuff happening. And if you kind of violate these natural laws, your karma may have karmic consequences. Okay, I probably totally butchered that, but I'm doing my best here. So I want to make a case for something known as the Golden Rule. Okay, so you probably know the Golden Rule. There it is written as Confucius wrote it many thousands of years ago. So the earliest example of the Golden Rule that I've found is from a book called The Eloquent Peasant. It's an ancient Egyptian book from around 2000 BC, around 4,000 years ago, a little bit more maybe. And the goddess Ma'at says, do to the doer to make him do, right? Which is kind of like saying lead by example, do to the doer to make him do. Confucius in 500 BC said, do not do to others what you do not want others to do to you. So I've heard this described as the silver rule before. It's not exactly the same as the golden rule, because the golden rule is saying do to others how you want them to do to you. But Confucius was saying do not do to others what you do not want them to do to you. Right? So don't do things that you wouldn't accept from other people. That's Confucius. Okay. So another example here we've got from, I don't know how to say this word, Tirukkural, the Book of Virtue of the Tirukkural. Anyway, this character, Valuva, says, do not do to others what makes you know sorry. Do not do to others what you know has hurt yourself, right? Do not do to others what you know has hurt yourself. Which again is like the silver rule, yeah? Don't do to others things you wouldn't accept. And then finally on my list, I've got Jesus saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? So these are all examples of the golden law, the golden rule in spiritual texts. I would like to make a case today for the golden rule, and I want to do a bit of moral reasoning to attempt to prove that this is true. This is really hard. Okay, moral reasoning, or what could you call it? Like moral philosophy is really hard, and I'm probably going to get some moral philosophers in the comments saying how I've made a total mess of this argument, and they're going to say because of X, Y, Z. Okay, but nevertheless, I'm going to attempt it. So here are some more examples of the golden rule throughout history from various religions and various cultures. So what is my case? So if you obey this rule, if you do to others what you would have them do to you, then you're not a hypocrite, right? Whereas if you break the golden rule, right, if you do things to other people that you wouldn't accept from other people, that makes you a hypocrite, right? So hypocrisy is basically just breaking the golden rule. And yeah, hypocrisy and hypocrite, these words are connected, right? Hypocrisy is people being hypocrites, right? So the moral philosopher would then say, okay, but then why is being a hypocrite bad? Right? And it seems like a strange question, but this is moral reasoning, and I'm trying to make a logical case here for the golden rule. So why is being a hypocrite bad? The reason why the moral philosopher would ask this is because really I'm just name calling. If, I could say, if you break the golden rule, that just makes you a fastuzio or something. I could just make up a word, right? And that's the same as if I just say you're a hypocrite, right? It's name calling. It's not actually proving anything. So the next question is, what's so bad about being a hypocrite? Right? Why is being a hypocrite bad? So this is my case, right? Over the years, over 20 years, I have been listening to what are known as near-death experiences. So these are the accounts of people who have been clinically dead for a short period of time, temporarily, and then they've come back to life and they've got a story to tell about what they saw. Here I've got a list of YouTube channels that you can check out if you're interested in hearing any of these near-death experiences, and there are countless thousands online. And I mean, I say thousands, there's probably way more. I don't really know the number, but and I don't know how many I've heard, but it's been like 20 years of listening to these things. And something I've noticed is a very distinct theme, a correlation between these near-death experiences. This gentleman here on the right is Jeffrey Mishlove, and he has a YouTube channel called New Thinking Aloud with Jeffrey Mishlove. And he also has spent a large portion of his life listening to near-death experiences, and he interviews people on his channel where they give their accounts of their near-death experiences. He appears on the Next Level Soul podcast, which is the one at the top of the list there, where he's interviewed about his life doing NDEs. And he says that he has found this same theme, this same correlation amongst all of the near-death experiences. And that common theme, well, one of the common themes, is that of the life review, right? What is known as the life review. So you may have heard the cliche of when somebody has a brush with death, they say, oh, my life flashed before my eyes. And this is the life review. And essentially what it is that the person sees their whole life in a new context. And it's as if their whole life is in front of them in this one moment. And they get to review their whole life. Like, they really get to know, like, who was I? What kind of person was I? And in that moment, they judge themselves. Now, I'm not saying that you are your only judge, right, in the afterlife or whatever that is. I'm not saying that, right? Maybe it is the case that in the afterlife you judge yourself, but that doesn't mean that's the only thing that happens, right? Maybe something else judges you too. Maybe these people are delusional, like that maybe there is no afterlife and that these people have these kind of common delusions because of some kind of common brain chemistry. Personally, I don't believe that to be the case after hearing all of these NDEs and just through having various spiritual experiences that I can't prove. I mean, I can't prove to other people, but I don't believe that there's nothing when you die anymore. Like, I don't. But anyway, my case for moral philosophy. I'm not getting off track here. So when somebody sees their life in this new context, they judge themselves. So if they were a hypocrite, right? If they broke the golden rule, then they don't like what they see, right? And these people very commonly, after having these NDEs, will change their ways, right? They will wake up and they're just behaving totally differently, right? And generally speaking, they're much more empathetic, loving, considerate people after having this experience. It's sort of like if you imagine your life is a vinyl record playing, and as you live through life, time elapses, and that is effectively the record playing it. It's in a state of play. And when you die, or you have this near-death experience and this life review, it's like the needle, that sort of diamond needle, gets pulled off of the record, and then you're able to hold the record in front of you. Okay, so that music on that record only exists because those sounds can unfurl at the correct times. Is unfurl the right word? Yeah, the sounds happen at certain times. That's what makes the music. But when you take that record off of the record player and you hold it in your hand, you've got all of that time, but in one time, right? And that's kind of an analogy of what I understand these life reviews to be. So I hope I've made my case for this. This is probably an inductive argument. I believe it is an inductive argument. I'm not sure how strong or weak this argument is. Okay, maybe it's not a particularly strong argument, but when tackling such a hard problem, as like moral philosophy. It's the best I can do right now. Okay. So people who have life reviews, they judge themselves. And if they have been living in a way that is hypocritical, then they come to understand their behavior was wrong. And if they do not find that their life is hypocritical, then they do not judge themselves so harshly. So that's my case, really, for the golden rule. Personally, I believe that when we die, we will have the life review, and that the conclusion of that life review will determine the consequences of what happens next to us. But, that's just a personal belief. That's not moral philosophy. All right, so this has been an application of logic, grammar and logic, really. Well, and I suppose some rhetoric as well, because I'm trying to convince you. It's been an application of the trivium of the liberal arts to morality. The truth is not just the configuration of how things exist. It's not just the shape of things and where things are and how many things there are. It's not just that. It's also which actions bear consequences, or what are the consequences of your actions. And in this, there is a kind of truth. Maybe it's a kind of secondary cause and effect sort of truth, rather than a primary, this is the thing that exists kind of truth. But studying the liberal arts has led me to believe that there is a truth out there, that there is something that's happening. I say out there, I mean there's a truth in me as well. It's just truth. And the truth is the thing that has happened, the thing that is. And my perception of that is either more or less accurate. And this is why it's important for us to raise our awareness, to pay closer attention to things, to see things in more detail, because then we will live in a closer harmony with the truth, or at least we give ourselves the opportunity to live in closer harmony with the truth. Whereas if we ignore things, if we ignore reality, if we are asleep, then we will be allowing reality to control us more. So I think that's all I have to say about that. If you have anything to say about that case, whether you think it's like a strong argument or a weak argument, or if you think it's cogent or not, I would like to know what you think. And if you are a moral philosopher, then please don't pull any punches with me. If you think that I'm just flat out wrong, then please tell me, and tell me why. Okay, so that is all. Thank you very much for listening. There's more to come. It's not exactly on my mind what's happening next, so I won't say, but thank you nonetheless. Be well, take care, and I'll see you soon.